Wagwan, my peoples. It is another beautiful day here in sunny Florida, and I'm sure from the outside looking in, all you guys hear about is the good that is happening in Tampa Bay. But I'm here today to tell you my top 3 pros and cons of living in Tampa Bay, and this is an updated list for 2026. Let's go. What is going on, YouTube? If you are new to the channel, welcome, and if you are returning, welcome back to the Living in Tampa Bay channel. I am your host, Shandon Kaya, and your trusted real estate advisor for the Tampa Bay area. I know we typically look for headlines when we're looking for current news or current things that are happening, especially when we're talking about moving, especially from out of state. And a lot of the headlines you see about Tampa Bay are usually on the good side. And people always have good things to say, people who visit, people who live here, but they don't really talk about the negatives. And there are some, so let's talk about them. Now, real quick, before we dive into this, I want to remind you guys that I am a licensed agent in the state of Florida. So if you have real estate goals, questions, or dreams of moving here, especially the Tampa Bay area, I'll be honored to earn your business and help you make your transition here as smooth as possible. So I'm going to drop my contact information on screen so you guys can get in touch, and please don't hesitate to reach out, as I'm always here to be a resource for you. And if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please be sure to go down, like, comment, and hit that subscribe button, because it genuinely helps me continue to create more content like this for you guys. Okay, so we are going to start with the pros. Now, as you may know, here in Florida, we get good weather pretty much year round. And there is a small hurricane season between June and November, but I must say we have had a pretty dry hurricane season so far this year, and I'm praying that it stays that way. And then if you didn't know, there is about a month-long period between the middle of December, middle of January, where it actually does get cold. It goes down to as low as the 40s, and it's like nice hoodie weather, especially when dealing with 80+ degree temperatures all year. And because we get this nice weather, it creates a very motivating energy and allows us to have plenty of time outdoors, and we can enjoy outdoor activities for most of the year. That's including, water activities, boating, fishing, wakeboarding, paddleboarding, kayaking, things of that nature, but also all the recreational sports that we have here available to us in the Tampa Bay area. So me, myself, I like to play volleyball. I don't know if you can read that on my shirt, but shout out Beast Coast Volleyball. I play volleyball, I play softball, I play football, as in soccer, but you have pretty much every recreational sport at your disposal. So that is something I truly enjoy about living here. And then another thing about being outdoors all the time is that it kind of not forces, but encourages everyone to really be outside. And when people are active, people are engaged, and it creates for a very welcoming and active, fit community. Pro number 2, and this applies even more if you live in St. Pete. You are no more than an hour, 2 hours tops to some of the best beaches in the United States, from Clearwater Beach all the way down to Paso Grill. And if you want to take it a step further, you can go across the Skyway Bridge to the south and go to Anna Maria Island in Bradenton, as well as Siesta Key in Sarasota. And there's even more beaches that follow all along this western coast of Florida that are super underrated and that a lot of people don't get the chance to visit. The beach lifestyle is one of those things that separates Clearwater and St. Pete to Tampa. And it's simply because our proximity to the beaches and the water just allows for more accessibility. And the difference between a 30-minute drive to the beach and an hour drive to the beach is long enough to stop someone from going. So if you are an avid beach goer, I definitely say that St. Petersburg and Clearwater are the move for you, opposed to Tampa. I will say though that while there aren't beaches, Tampa and Hillsborough County has their fair share of marinas and docks where you can launch your boat off and get direct access to the Gulf as well. And to go hand in hand with that, we have a lot more water frontage here on this side of the bridge. I'll show you right now. I'm actually on Coffee Pot Boulevard in St. Petersburg. You can see some of these, $1 million homes, some of them new construction, some of them a little bit older. But then right on the other side, you have the intercoastal, and across the way there, you go into Snell Isle and Vinoy Isle, where some of the most expensive waterfront properties exist here in St. Petersburg. Now, the third pro, and perhaps my favorite one, is that Tampa Bay is slowly but surely becoming a beautiful melting pot of different cultures. As a transplant myself, coming from Ohio, I've met so many people, not just from Ohio, but from all different parts of the country. And the one thing they all have in common to say when they move here is that they love the community and how welcoming it is. And I think it's because during that COVID era, if you moved here then, like I did, then you can appreciate how Florida kind of opened its doors for everyone to come in and build a new life. And I think a lot of people can resonate with that because they went through a similar experience. So with that being said, you can find people from all walks of life, not just from different parts of the country, but from different parts of the world as well. And with so much money and investment and flourishment happening in the Tampa Bay area, it makes easy for people with different skills and different assets to come in and build a life for themselves, find work, and be a part of this ever-growing community we have in Florida. So now I will bring us into our cons. And I know I said before that the weather is nice for most of the year. However, in the summers, it gets unbearably hot. And that is con number one. Sometimes the heat is just too unbearable, and it makes those normally enjoyable outdoor activities intolerable. You know that level of heat where you get in your car for the first time during the day and it's like an oven? Yeah, that's like almost every day here in Florida, and it can get quite disgusting. Like, not only is it blazing hot, but the humidity plays a huge role too. So like, I know in a lot of parts of the country right now, it's getting over 100 degrees, but at least it's a dry heat. Now tack on 90, 95 degrees with this wicked, heavy, thick humidity, and I promise you it is much, much worse. And don't even get me started on the UV index. The sun is like 2 times, 3 times as intense as it is anywhere else in the nation. And for me, that is a huge, huge negative about living here in Tampa Bay, Florida. Now, the second con, now this might come to a surprise to some of you. However, the food scene in the Tampa Bay area is like very, very average. In Tampa, there are certainly more restaurants that provide just next level food and service when it comes to taste. However, St. Pete is very, very limited, as well as Clearwater. I can probably name a handful of restaurants that provide superb, consistent, outstanding food every single time, but it is very, very rare, and those restaurants are limited. Like I said, Tampa definitely has a more expansive list of those places, but sometimes driving, 30 to 45 minutes over the bridge to go eat just some decent food can be kind of taxing. So getting over there sometimes is a little bit tough living in St. Pete, but they definitely have the edge in food. And to make things worse, a lot of the best restaurants close at like 8 or 9 p.m. So if you're someone who eats a little later like me, so many of your good options get cut off late into the evening, and it is condensed to either like fast food or like drunk pizza or a burger, which I don't even eat. So if you're like me and you're eating a little later in night, the food scene gets even worse. And all I ask one day is that a couple restaurants extend their hours to like midnight, and they can literally corner the entire market of St. Petersburg just by having food available at those hours. There were some people who on my other platforms were, giving me an issue or like had a hard time with me saying that the food scene is not great, and they know plenty of restaurants who always give great food or serve great food. But for me, like, mid is not exceptional. Like, I want to be blown away by the meal. And even better if your meal is good, it's not overly priced, and you provide great service. Some of those places for me in St. Petersburg are going to be House of Vegano. It is a 100% vegan restaurant, and they serve sushi and ramen, the single best ramen I've ever had in my entire life. And then there is Taylor Sam's. It is a breakfast brunch spot. They are originally from New Jersey, but their menu is always changing, always adapting, always innovative, and the food is always 10 out of 10. There's also this joint called Fresco's, which is right in downtown St. Pete at the isthmus of the pier. And if you like seafood, then this is gonna be your spot. It's a little bit more on the fancier side, but they have this lobster pasta dish that is truly exceptional, and I get it pretty much every time I go. And then there are some much more low-key joints, but authentic, and authentic is my favorite. And one of them is Sid's Caribbean. It is this little hole-in-the-wall joint on the south side of St. Pete, and they are serving authentic Jamaican food. And the brown stew chicken is probably some of the best I've ever had. And then the other one is a small Korean joint over towards Pinellas Park. And I love Asian food, and Korea kind of has their own little corner in the Southeast Asian cuisine where some of their dishes are so standout and so unique, but the flavor is unmatched. And I go there whenever I'm craving Korean food, and it is definitely top 5 best restaurants in St. Petersburg. And that brings me to my last point, the final con of living in Tampa Bay, Florida, is that it is damned expensive. And this applies especially if you're talking about St. Petersburg. Now, obviously, people think, oh, well, what makes it so expensive? Like I said, you're 30 minutes to an hour from some of the best beaches. You're in a rapidly developing city. You're in emerging neighborhoods where the equitable growth is unlike any other part of the nation. And the quality of life here is so much greater than what you might find in other states, especially other parts of Florida. And for that reason, I think there is a price to be paid there. And as someone who is an advocate for affordable housing, or, stabilized or corrected real estate values, it is difficult for me to justify paying $250,000, $350,000 for a home that needs, a ton of work. And that is what we're seeing here in Tampa Bay. It's not like other states where you can go spend $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 and get a decent starter home for your family. The bottom line price here in St. Petersburg is $250,000, and that might get you a 2-1, 650 square feet. And it hurts to say that because that's like almost nothing. But again, the price you're paying is the quality of life in an emerging city. And for some people, that is worth it. And the same thing applies to renters. Like, yes, rents have stabilized a little bit here in the Tampa Bay area, but for the most part, if you want a 2-bedroom in anywhere that's walkable, you're likely gonna pay close to $3,000 a month. And without a roommate, that is just not feasible for most people in today's world. So that sums it up. My top 3 pros and cons of living in the Tampa Bay area. Some people are going to agree, some people aren't, and that's okay. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but having lived here, these are my experiences and my takeaways working and living here as a real estate agent for the past 6 years. My advice to someone outside looking in is always going to be, do your research, niche down on submarkets, neighborhoods that are going to best fit your lifestyle and purchasing or even renting criteria. That way you can make the best informed decision about where you're going to live before you decide to move. If that someone is you who's considering making the move to Tampa Bay, I have a free resource for you. I have a relocation guide 1 to Tampa and one to St. Petersburg. And I'm gonna drop the link to those in the description of this video. All you have to do is copy and paste it into your search bar. It'll take you to the PDF completely free. And in those guides, I just give you kind of a snapshot of what certain neighborhoods look like, what you can expect moving here, and some more information that I think you may find useful. So with that, I'll remind you guys that I am a licensed agent in the state of Florida, and I'd be honored to earn your business if you're planning on making the transition here to Tampa Bay, Florida. So I'm gonna drop my contact information on screen one more time so you guys can get in touch, and never ever hesitate to reach out. I'm always available via call, text, or email, so my line is always open. And if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please be sure to go down, like, comment, and hit that subscribe button so I can continue creating more content like this for you guys. And if you have any recommendations or things you want to see on the channel, please drop them in the comments because that helps me create content for you guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you on the next video. Peace.